For 23 years, the Episcopal Diocese of North Carolina has partnered with 6 communities in the southern highlands of Honduras in an effort to improve the quality of life there. It is a profound and ugly irony to find so much poverty and suffering among people so gentle and friendly, living in a remote place of great natural beauty, but also harsh natural challenges. In recent years, churches from the Episcopal Diocese of Atlanta have joined the North Carolina Mission with a common focus on health care in a place with few modern medical resources. The mission provides training to local health promoters, stocks 2 pharmacies, and staffs 2 medical and dental clinics, treating approximately 1,800 people in 5 days. Not to mention providing twice-yearly fluoride treatments for all elementary school children. This year, there were also humorous health promotion skits about topics such as brushing teeth, and purifying drinking water.
E. coli, cholera,
Jean Maynard serves the mission as translator, clinic partition architect, and general fixer of all things broken. In years served, he is the senior member of the mission, so it is always informative when he shares his thoughts about Honduran friends and about the work of the mission itself.
You know how if you're a guest in somebody's house and you wear your welcome thin, they no longer serve you, you kind of get your own stuff. That's where we're at. So I like that. Kind of breaks down the barriers, joke around quite a bit. The basic needs that the group is trying to cover, they're moving on to bigger things now because they've kind of hit the things like parasites, using shoes, washing hands a lot, and people understand it more now, a lot more now than when we first started coming. When I first came, it was so long ago. These buildings didn't exist that we're standing around. Where they're teaching the class right now didn't exist. These stores down here, I don't remember them. Here you feel like you're relevant. Not that I don't feel relevant back home, but it's just a different sense of worth. It's kind of a big part of myself, you know?
The mission has always sought inclusion of Hondurans in its work, and this year several of the translators were Honduran, as well as the entire dental staff. The mission began last year in conjunction with our local partners, an oral history project to help preserve and honor local traditions even as modern communications technology sweeps in. This year we decided to take a look at one of the long-standing economic pillars of the region, gold mining. The process we videotaped started deep in the interior of a mountain where there are 40 separate gold mining operations. Don Alfredo Rosario works this mine with his 3 sons and 6 or 7 other workers. Holes are drilled for the placement of dynamite, which crumbles the surrounding surface into piles of rock and dirt containing traces of gold. Workers shovel this rock and dirt into bags, which are then trucked down the mountain to a processing area.
Nosotros este es un molino para moler brosa de oro, sacar oro. Se procesa toda la día, toda la noche, 100 sacos.
As the bags of rock and dirt are mixed with water and mercury in a large grinding pit called a rostra, the mercury begins to bind with the gold. Then much of the water is drained into a holding pond, and the remaining mixture is carefully swept up and poured into a wooden device called a channel, where the gold and mercury are separated from the dirt. Finally, the gold and mercury is squeezed together in a special filter, which separates out most of the mercury. Each week, the mine produces 120 to 150 grams of gold, for which Don Alfredo receives the equivalent of about $25 per gram. But in the mining process, some of the mercury escapes into streams and rivers. Public policymakers are now taking a harder look at this environmental problem.
No pueden bañar, no pueden lavar su ropa, no pueden aguar sus animales. Encabezada por personal de la municipalidad, por salud pública y la Policía Nacional, pues andan advirtiéndole a muchas personas dueñas de esta rastra que lo que tienen que hacer ellos es una fosa, o sea, un agujero para depositar esas aguas.
Learning about gold mining, in fact, the entire Oral History Project, is just one example of the deepening relationships between the people of Las Comunidades Unidas and the Episcopal Medical Mission. These relationships, as well as the mission improvements described by Gene Maynard, are largely attributable on the American end to 10 years of incredible leadership by Priscilla Shows, with the assistance of her husband Derek, of St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, Durham, North Carolina. This year, in response to deep distress we have witnessed, especially in women having trouble finding enough food for their children, Priscilla and Derek led a session for local health promoters on depression.
The person who is depressed can't afford to buy antidepressants, and there's no psychotherapist available. What do you do? What's the next best thing? And so the main treatment then is for the depressed person, to have somebody whom they can trust and to whom they can talk about what is bothering them.
Thus it was with sadness but also appreciation that we and our partners in Honduras heard Priscilla's and Derek's announcement during this year's mission that it would be their last. As we look to the mission's bright future, we know we will miss their delightful presence among us, even as we feel profoundly thankful for their vision and leadership in improving the prospects of so many.
Mayo, junio, julio, agosto, septiembre, octubre, noviembre, diciembre. Ahora contemos desde el 1 hasta el 30. 1.
Cuando me vine de mi tierra El Salvador, con intención de llegar a Estados Unidos, sabía que a lo mejor quedaba de valor, sabía que a lo mejor quedaba en el camino. Es lindo México, pero cuando crucé, atravesarlo sin papeles es muy duro. Los 5,000 kilómetros que recorrí, puedo decir que los recuerdo no por uno. En Guatemala, México, cuando crucé, son 3 países que me hicieran prisionero. El vi mi idioma y el color reflexioné. ¿Cómo es posible que me llamen extranjero?